Hi everyone, my name is Chloe. I'm one of the authenticators here at FASHIONPHILE. We're here in our headquarters in San Diego, California. This is really such a special place. It's where all the magic happens. So I'm really excited to be able to share with you all a little bit of our world. I have some Louis Vuitton and some Chanel. I'm gonna go ahead and kind of dig into them and display some of the differences that we see with some real versus fakes. I'll begin with the Louis Vuitton. So these are two Louis Vuitton favorite clutches in monogram coated canvas. I don't know if you guys can kind of tell some of the differences already from the exterior. This one's going to be counterfeit, this one is authentic. Some of the first things that I'm noticing is going to be the finish or like maybe the vibrance of the monogram canvas here versus the monogram canvas on the authentic one. It's a little bit more dull. I've seen variations from Louis Vuitton, but with having these side by side, it is a lot more telling that something's off here. Going into the face of the bag and looking at these two hardware shapes and finishes, I hope you can kind of tell some of the differences here. I'm able to very clearly see the engravings here. They're like popping out at me versus on the authentic one below. It's super clean and crisp and just a little bit more discreet. Additionally, this hardware quality, whenever we see that kind of uneven or streaky finish there, that's going to pose as a major red flag for us. Hardware quality is one of the main things that we're looking for in identifying counterfeit versus authentic items. So this kind of streaky finish is just a major red flag. We're always looking for something super crisp and clean, and you know, we don't have that crazy effect. It's just really beautiful, and you can tell that it's a little bit higher quality material being used, or mix of metals. And then going into the side panel here, I think you can kind of notice some of the differences right off of the bat, just based off of the shape and this pleat here. Also looking at the vachetta patch and the proportions, we pay attention closely to the stitch count and the stitching quality, how it's being stitched here. The threading color is usually pretty consistent for Louis Vuitton as well. So these are all just like really small details that we try really hard to pay attention to, and that we often see consistencies from these brands. Other parts that I'm looking at that are like kind of jumping out at me are the proportions of the vachetta here, and especially the location of this little rivet here. So for whatever reason, they decided to place it a little bit higher than on the authentic one, where we should see it beautifully centered, and then on top of all of that, just the hardware quality in general is going to be different. I can tell a major difference in the font style being used here, and the shapes as well. So there are some differences there. Other things that we're looking at is going to be things like the lining blend. It's kind of difficult to tell here, but they're different. You can still kind of see them streaky, uneven finish popping out at you from this hardware here. And also just font styles, designer IDs, we get questions about all the time. And proportions. We're looking for something really high quality. The stitching is really consistent, especially with Louis Vuitton. And so yeah, those are just a couple of the things that we're looking for on Louis Vuitton. And so I'll go ahead and show you these Chanel classic flaps. This is a really covetable style. It never really loses its value. So of course, the counterfeit markets love to capitalize on these types of styles that everybody wants. I hope that right off of the bat you're able to tell some of the differences. Here, the proportions, this is going to be the counterfeit, this is the authentic one, and you can probably tell some of the proportions are a little bit off. This one's a bit taller, the stitching looks different, the textile looks a little bit different, and then also the hardware finish and color. So many things. It's kind of hard to tell standing alone, so we love to do these kind of side-by-side comparisons. I hope you can tell the differences in the stitching color and even the shapes of the CC. On the fake one below, there are just the shape looks a little bit off and it just seems really shiny. So these are all just posing as red flags. And then we can continue on to the center of the bag, or the interior of the bag, where I'm seeing all of this kind of roughness and puffiness, and the quilting on the exterior should not be visible from the interior. Going back to construction and proportions, it seems like they got the double flap length a little bit off, so it's a little bit longer than what we would see on the authentic one here. It's a little bit shorter and just more even proportionally. Another difference I'm seeing is going to be this little zipper pull tab. This little CC charm that they decided to add is not something that Chanel would apply to a classic flap style. We're used to seeing this little leather tab, which is leather and beautiful. Again, the hardware is just going to be something that we're always trying to keep an eye out for. And I hope you can tell that there are differences in the shape, the finishes. Again, the color is going to be reflected on the interior of the bag as well. The screws used are different, and similar to the Louis Vuitton, I was able to just show you, it has that kind of streaky finish and unevenness that definitely stands out. Inside of the actual flap, you can just see that the construction and the integrity of the materials used are a little bit lower quality than what we would expect on an authentic one. So here it's beautiful. The caviar is nice and smooth and beautiful and smooth to the touch, versus the fake one, which feels kind of plasticky on the exterior as well. But this bubbling is a red flag. The foiling and the font style is all incorrect. So these are all things that I'm able to tell from even just the exterior, but we take a look at all of these little details and nuances in the construction of every bag from every brand that we accept. So those are a little example of two styles that were real versus fake. We love to do this. It's, like I said, the best way for us to identify the specific factors of what makes it a counterfeit. Authenticity is really going to be a major driving force behind the success of FASHIONPHILE. So we take it very seriously. We have intensive training constantly that's ongoing and ever evolving, and it's super exciting to grow as the brands continue to grow as well, and the resale industry as a whole. We do have a zero tolerance policy for fakes. We try to get the counterfeit items out of the door as quickly as they enter. So in addition to that, we offer a 100% lifetime guarantee on all items that we sell. I would encourage you all to reach out to us, ask all of the questions that you may have if I wasn't able to answer them here. And also to visit us in our studio showrooms that are located across the country in Neiman Marcus stores. We continue to grow them. They're beautiful, and we get to virtually authenticate your items, so you get to leave with a check in your hand, which is a very unique experience that FASHIONPHILE gets to offer. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I can't wait to do this again. Bye!